Hi, I'm Marmalade, and welcome to episode 11 of What I've Learned on the PCT. And as always, I have 4 good questions here. And thank you. I ask every video for more questions, and you guys gave me a lot of good ones last time, so we have enough for at least 2 or 3 more videos. Please bring them on if you can. Also, something new I'm going to do on not every video, but a lot of my videos is have an end screen towards the end of my videos, giving a shout out to my patrons that help support me and help me have a chance to put these videos out and go on adventures and bring you more content. So if you're interested in doing that, please go to the description box below and check it out. I don't bring it up a lot, but it would really help. And literally you can support this channel like $2 a month. You can write it off if you want. You know, if you got more and you like my content and appreciate it and learn from it, maybe give a little more or whatever. You can also do a one-time donation to PayPal if you want, things like that. So check that out. Let's start with question number 1, which is, I've been getting a lot of good questions from this person. They go by Behind Enemy Lines. I also will give you a shout out when I use your question. So if you have a question, you want to get a shout out, just leave them down below too if you have some questions. Behind Enemy Lines asked, can you address the issue of vehicle security and logistics when doing a shorter day or section hike? What's your preferred method of getting back to the vehicles if not doing a loop? So I addressed this in a previous video a little bit, but you guys do, you know, locally I live near section A of the PCT, the start of it, if you're going northbound. And so for years and years, even before I started my through hike in 2019, I went out, probably did a couple thousand miles of just 1 to 3 or 4 day section hikes out there. And I still continue to do that. So I've described it before, but I'll answer it again because not everybody watches all the videos. But basically, if we know we're going to do a section, we just basically meet at the end of the section we're going to do. Recently we did one from Scissors Crossing mile 77 up to 109.5, which is Warner Springs. We met at the end. We went to the start and had enough vehicles, or a car. In this case, there was 4 of us, so we all fit in one car, went to the start. And then just basically the one thing that takes a little bit of time is, especially if you have a bigger stretch, is when you get to the end, somebody's got to take that person back, or if there's more than one car, take those people back to the start to get their cars. About vehicle safety, that's a tough one because it's taking me, in my section A, it's taking me years and years to figure out where it's okay, where I feel safe to leave cars and where I don't. There's a couple places I used to leave my car. One is Sunrise Highways, the Sunrise Trailhead at mile 59.5 was a great place, huge parking lot. But because of van lifers and people that were kind of living out there, they've now put a sign out there, you can't stay overnight. So you can go there in the day and hike, but it was a great place to leave my car and go hike out and come back. So that's kind of out of the books. You could, I guess, have somebody drop you off there, so you could do that too. Meet at the end, have somebody, if like I live local, we sometimes have a family member drop us off at the start so we don't have to leave a car, and then we just go to the end, and then you don't have to spend all that time going back. But so to address the safety part, it's all a risk, right? There's been a couple times where I feel I've been lucky. I don't leave my car where I think it's, and how do you know, really, right? But it's a tough thing because your car is literally a sitting duck. If we go out for 3 days and 2 nights, for 3 days it's just sitting there. And I live in my car, you know, I'm experimenting with this SUV living, so not everything I own because I have a storage, but everything that matters to me is in the car pretty much. And it would be horrific if they got in there and just stole everything. So I don't know how to answer that question. You have to kind of, it's a risk assessment. So I've just gone out there, and at first I didn't plan the trips. I would just show up, and I just saw that where we left cars and where we picked them up and all that stuff and where it seemed to be safe. So far, knock on metal bench, we haven't had anybody break into our cars, anything like that. So obviously the busier the place is and more movement, like Warner Springs, it's going to be harder for somebody to break into your car. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. All right, question number 2 is from somebody who I followed in the past too, and is going to do a long section of the PCT this year. And I know she watches a lot of my videos, the hiking chick. She asked me, it's kind of a long question, but I think I've read somewhere to plan an extra liter of water for overnight if you're going to be dry camping. So she's saying an extra liter for dinner and for breakfast. Did you find that to be true? So for example, if you have a 20-mile stretch to the next water source and you're camping in 10 miles, so halfway through, figure 4 liters for hiking, and that's assuming like my average is 1 liter for every 5 miles. So let's say you need to carry 4 liters for that. and 1 more liter for overnight to rehydrate, meals and etc. for a total of 5 liters total. Is that a good way to plan in a general rule? And that is exactly how I plan it. Now remember, there's variables. It can be super hot. Sometimes when it's cold, I mean, I do err on carrying more water than less, so sometimes I do have a little extra water. I like to have, when I'm dry camping, which means, if you don't know, there's no water source by camp. So in her scenario, it's a good one. You're going 20 miles to the next water, and you need to get water for 20 miles. How much do you carry? So if you average, like I do, 5 miles per liter, you would carry, you know, 4 to 5 liters for that 20 miles, but then also 1 extra liter for dry camping at night. Now, what I like to do if I'm dry camping, within reason, if I have to carry a lot of water, I kind of ration at night. Now, remember, I'm going into cold soaking or just not cooking or using water at all for the cooking part of it. If I decide to do this, I'll save having to carry that extra water. But I do like to have not only a liter for dinner and breakfast and things like that, but also I like to, nobody really talks about it, but I like to rehydrate sometimes at night in my tent, especially if I'm wet camping, I have water. But I like to sip on it. You know, the byproduct is you have to pee more sometimes. But you know, sometimes we don't know how dehydrated we are, and then we feel it the next morning. So I like to semi-rehydrate at night, even if I'm sitting around camp before I go to bed, and drink a lot of water if I have it. So that could be a reason to carry a little extra water. But no, your math is exactly right. Now remember, this is not a hard and fast rule. So sometimes you drink more or less. I've slowly over time needed less and less water. It's just the way I am. But I don't scrimp. I don't worry. I know it's heavy, but if whatever I need to carry for the next stretch, I carry it. I would rather, as I've said in past videos, I'd rather err in favor of water. And like we said, if you run out of food, you're still okay. Anyway, thanks for the question. Great question. All right, question 3. And by the way, it's getting pretty blustery, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Hopefully the wind's not getting this microphone. But question 3 is from Mountain Cat 8. They asked, from your current miles that you have done or you've traveled on the PCT, which is about 1,690 miles, so almost 1,700, do you prefer to travel solo in a trail family, or 50-50 combination of solo and trail family, or what else? So that's a great question. So I'm kind of an enigma because I like it all. And I am, as you can tell, a talkative, outgoing person. I'm not shy. I don't really know any strangers, so that's not a problem. But I also gravitate and really need the solitude on trail. So, you know, they say it's not just a saying, but you can have any kind of experience you want. There's people that practically will hike the whole trail alone. Sometimes it's invariable. You get to a place to camp on the side of the trail, and there's other tents, and sometimes you don't even talk to them. I mean, maybe you get there kind of late, or maybe you just get in your tent and eat and go to bed. You can decide how social you want to be. So I like, to answer your question, I like not necessarily 50-50, but I like a little bit of everything. If you guys watched me this year I got in to do more PCT this last year in 2022 by Reds Meadow, and went all the way to Truckee, and then skipped up because of the fires and did some in Oregon. But the early part I hiked with the hiking Rev, and we both had, like, at night talked about the next day and looked at the profile and how the miles looked and possible camping spots. I always try to pick maybe a short, medium, and long camp spot, and even then I don't worry about it because there's so many camp spots that aren't on the Far Out app that we use. But we disagree during the day sometimes, depending on how each one of our feeling, to just go hike by ourselves. So, you know, sometimes Rev wanted some solitude, and maybe I was a little ahead of him, and he'd just say, go ahead. He'd say, I'd take a break and I'll catch up to you. And we'd have meetings to plan for lunch or where we're going to camp, things like that. So, you know, even though in the videos you see us a lot together, we were alone a lot. So that's, he's very much like me, where we both like to have our time to ourselves and also together. And it's neat to have somebody to bounce ideas off with and talk to. So I like a little bit of everything. I really do. And I don't have like an exact plan, like I only want to hike alone in the morning, but not at night, all that stuff. I just go by how I feel. And then sometimes you're around people that are fun, and you hike together all day and talk all day. So it's a little bit of everything. So I guess that's your answer, a little bit of everything. All right, my fourth and final question of this video is from somebody I know, Diamond Dave Adventures. Diamond Dave, Double D, forever was a trail angel at Big Bear. And if you ever got cold drinks out of the coolers or got rides, he was the guy. That's how I met him. He put me up. I had shin splints. I walked like 70 miles on shin splints, and he put me up in his house. Was so kind for like 3 days. It's in my videos in the desert section. And we are now friends. I'll put a picture up here if I have one from the past. But he lived his whole life almost in Big Bear, and he just moved to I think Las Vegas area. But that's a great question, Dave. How to switch from everyday life. I think it's really hard the other way around when you get off trail, but that's just my perception. But I find that there's nothing hard about it because I work 2 jobs, I plan all year to get back on trail. So for me, when I'm finally there, it's a relief. It's kind of like, if you've ever been married, you know how you're mired in the plans forever, and then when you finally get to the day, it's such a relief because it's just been such a burden, so much time and thought and energy expended that you're just glad to finally be there. So for me, getting on trail is not hard at all. I would say the hardest thing, especially because I'm 60 now, and when I started this adventure, I was 56, you know, when I thought I was going to do it in the whole 1 year. But for me, I'm mentally strong now, and it's just that it's hard to, it's very difficult, if impossible, to recreate what you're going to experience every day on trail, you know, trying to do 20 plus mile days every day, and the terrain. And like when I get back, the last 2 years I've been in the Sierra, so the elevation, you know, acclimating to elevation and not being in shape. And it's just, you know, I try to hike a bunch, and this last year I did not because of COVID and some other stuff. I got COVID and just, I had so much going on, I didn't get to hike much. So I paid the price for about 10 days. So the hardest thing for me is the physical part because, you know, I've always been a tall, lean guy, but since I'm probably 50, I've started to, you know, gain a little weight in the midsection. And even though I hike a lot, it's just I guess it's, you know, my metabolism slowed down. So when I get on trail, it's like I'm not in hiking shape and I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight. And then when I get to about 10 days, I've lost probably 10 pounds at least, but also I've got my trail legs. And then once I get my trail legs, it's great. And then I also, of course, I'm lighter, so I can move faster, and it's just easier. And the mental side's all there. It's just the physical. So that's your answer, I guess, Dave. It's kind of a long answer, but yeah, it's just getting in physical shape. When you're new, it's more mental. It is physical, but mental. You just, you know, you don't know what it's like to endure 20 miles a day. You don't know what it's like to hike 12 straight hours, except for little breaks. You don't know what to experience. Now I've done all that. It's about just getting my body to react the way I want it to. And every year it's true, it's a fraction harder and takes a fraction longer on trail to get my trail legs. But anyway, Dave and everybody, thanks for those questions. So hey, I'm looking for more questions. Please bring them on. We have enough for a couple more videos for sure. And so I appreciate all the last video got a lot of questions. I appreciate it. Again, if you'd like to support channels, there's ways down below. The more I study the algorithms, I'm trying to grow the channel. It's growing really slowly for some reason, but the one thing I notice is that if you leave a comment and you hit like, that helps put it out to more people. If I got a lot of views but hardly any likes or comments, then it doesn't seem to go out as many people. So that's why I've even had you just put let's do an icon. An icon in the comment section is just like you writing something to me. I'd rather hear from you, but if you're a person who doesn't like to leave comments, if you can leave, let's see, what kind of symbol do we want to do? Let's do, since we just got past Christmas, let's do a Christmas tree this time. In each video, I'll give you like some kind of icon like you would use for texting, and just put a Christmas tree or any kind of tree. How about that? So we're past Christmas, any kind of tree that's in there, and just put it in there if you don't want to write something. But so do that, and of course subscribe if you haven't. Like the video and hit the notification bell in the upper right if you want to be notified every time I have a new video. And I think that's it. Appreciate you listening to me, and I hope everybody's doing well. Happy New Year. And next month or two, I'll give you my plans for the year for hiking. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.